What's going on? It's your boy DameSmiff, and today I'm gonna have a quick conversation with you about how AI is changing the landscape for musicians and artists and pretty much everybody in general, right? And so when you think of AI, a lot of you have different feelings, whether it's a negative feeling, a positive feeling, but there is a shift in how AI is really going to fit into our lifestyle. So if you're interested in conversations like this, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe so that way you can catch my latest videos. So today we're actually going to react to a video of a really smart guy, right? And this is from tech coach Ralph. He's really smart, right? And he's been basically showing us the benefits, the options, the I guess you could say spectrum of possibilities when it comes to AI and the uses of it, whether it's coding, whether it's just making your life simple, or if you just want to make an app, right? And so I've been watching a lot of his videos, and a lot of the stuff I've learned, I tried to apply. And so I've probably barely scratched the surface of things that I can really be capable of with the use of AI. But for the past, I'll say 3 months or so, I've been using it and I've been able to develop workout routines for myself and been able to develop better thumbnails for my YouTube channels. I've been able to kind of streamline a bit of my workflow, understand workflow a bit better because it's been using a lot of information from other sources to help bring more information in, right? But this has all been like a huge benefit to me. So today we're going to react to a video of Tech Coach Ralph, and I'm gonna pull it up right here. And basically he's going to react to an article and a conversation about how AI is going to be replacing a lot of people's jobs, but how that really looks for people. And so let's take a look into it. So here we have Tech Coach Ralph. So make sure you go follow and subscribe there, and let's get ready to start the video.
This article that we're going to be reviewing comes from Soi Rashidi. She is a former AWS and IBM engineer, and she shared some insight on how to not become intellectually dependent on AI, on artificial intelligence. And the reason I really wanted to review this is because this is something that I always have in the back of my mind. Am I becoming too reliant on building things, or are we shifting our position to outsourcing the work that has to be done, but we're still keeping our creativity? So I want to go through this article, and then there's another video from the same presentation that she was doing, where she's talking about this whole outsourcing of the actual work versus the outsourcing of the creativity. So let's just jump into this article to see what Mrs. Soi Rashidi has to say about becoming too intellectually dependent on AI and how we can avoid it.
So before we get started, actually, I do want to tap into some of the things he mentioned. I've actually understood this about AI pretty early on, was that it's a tool meant to kind of enhance your workflow and enhance the best parts of your workflow. The issue that a lot of people are going to run into is what part of a workflow do you fit in, right? So let's say you're a cashier, right? You're a cashier. So you're a part of the overall workflow of a business that is basically making a sale. So whether it's selling furniture or selling food, you as a cashier play a role, right? And so when we introduce AI into your role, a lot of what you do has not changed, but how you do the thing you do changes a lot. So instead of having to calculate change very quickly, you now have a machine that will automate it for you. And then at the same time, in order to, I guess you can say, train a bit, you can kind of understand the nuances of customer service based on the data you receive from the customer experience. So there's a lot of things you can learn that go from one end of the spectrum for tactile things like using your hands and actually thinking and things like that, to more creative things like how do you want the customer experience to be. So things like that don't necessarily remove your role, but it does change what it looks like.
So this article was in Business Insider. And so quick background, Soi Rashidi has worked for AI for 15 years, scaling capabilities at companies like AWS and at IBM. She said workers have to continue to use their brain to avoid intellectual dependency on AI tools. So like I was saying, that is something that we have to be cognizant of to make sure that we are not becoming too reliant on what AI can do for us, and that we make sure that it is more of a partnership instead of just taking over and doing everything, because that's when we start to face the part of, oh, well, now it's just taking over and there's no more need for us. Rashidi uses it for acceleration, not replacement. That is the key right there. Acceleration, not replacement, and advises against copy and paste responses. I avoid copying and pasting a lot of things. So what I will copy and paste is if I'm trying to build something, and then I'll copy the logs to help debug. But you have to be you have to make sure you're not just taking from one spot and putting it into another with like mindlessly prompting without actual knowledge of what's happening out. And that's why one of the reasons I like to read the output of the prompts. Like when I ask something, I like to go through, because I've had so many learning experiences by actually the output of the prompts. Like when I ask something, I like to go through, because I've had so many learning experiences by actually reading through, like, oh, okay, I didn't know about this, I didn't know about that. Oh, that's how this works. Oh, let's try this, let's try that. So this article is
Yes, I agree 100% because a lot of what my experience with AI has been is that it's just been honestly just trying things, just pushing buttons. This is just how I prefer to learn things, right? So I prefer to just push a button, see what happens. So if I come to a problem, push a button, see what happens. If I don't know what to do, push a button, see what happens, right? So for some people that it can be scary, that can be kind of like a gamble and unpredictable, but for me that creates a bit of workflow for me. It means I can constantly keep moving in thought, right? So basically what he's explained in a nutshell is that he's able to learn from a lot of the things that he doesn't know because he's trying to speed up processes, right? So let's say if I want to, as an artist, because we are musicians and entertainers and things like that here on this channel, if you want to paint a picture, right? Painting a picture can just be done. Like you can just have the AI create a picture, right? But when you open up the process it took to create the picture, then you can learn a lot more. So I'll use thumbnails for an example for me. I didn't know that there was actually like historical context to the cinematic styles from decade to decade to decade to decade that actually dictate how we look at pictures just as humans, right? So there was a point where shadows were naturally reflected on most cameras, right? Using film, right? But nowadays we can digitize and change the shadows and the depths of blacks and black points and things like that. We can do a lot of editing on iPhones and things like that. So now that I can understand the difference between what your eye is attracted to, which is natural lighting, and what I can make you feel like you're attracted to, which is digitized photography, then I have options now. Before, I just wanted to paint a picture, right? So now there's a learning curve that we've now discovered in a sense. Now we've discovered that, okay, instead of me just having an idea and it just coming out, now I have an option on how I can create ideas. Way more options on how I can create ideas. And you only will learn that if you have the drive to, like I said, open up the hood and see how a process works. So in the example he gave, he was talking about coding. So if you're coding an app and you tell it to, let's say, make a calculator for me that, I don't know, it's a mini game that calculates simple math for children, right? Most AI programs can do that, right? But the process it takes to get that done, to get the app completed, to get it playable, means that it has to be explained and understood. So once you open up the process, meaning like just to click the little caret that says thinking, if you're using Gemini for an example, then you can see all of the things that it's thought about to get this job done that you can now use for yourself. So you're not necessarily dumb, you're just missing information, right? And once you have that information, now you can speed up the process or make it cooler, make it more efficient. So instead of just asking for, like I just said, a calculator that's going to do simple math for children, now you can be even more detailed. You can give it color, you can give it customer experience, you can make it feel a certain way. You can maybe even think of different logos and different kinds of games to add within the app. But you wouldn't have thought of that if you didn't open up the hood to express way more options within your creativity. And that's what AI is kind of allowing you to do quickly. Now you can go to class, you can wait for somebody to come along and who has a better technique and see it and experience it and learn it, or you can have it ready to go quickly. Okay.
Is a conversation with Soi Rashidi, with I believe I forgot the name of the let me see who wrote this. It is written by Anna Auchek, which is a reporter for a journalist for Business Insider. All right. So as told to essay is based on a conversation with Soi Rashidi, a former tech executive at IBM, AWS, and Estee Lauder, who is based in Miami. Look at that. We are based in the same vicinity of South Florida. The following has been edited for length and clarity. All right. So in the last 15 years, I have built and scaled AI capabilities. I have over 200 deployments under my belt. So first and foremost, that is absolutely awesome. I mean, this is no slouch of a career. This is a very, very impressive career, I must say. and for the past 15 years. That is awesome. I went from being an individual practitioner to running IBM Enterprise Data Management Practice. I was the chief data officer at Sony Music, the chief analytics officer at Estee Lauder, and the head of technology for AWS Startups Division in North America. Though that is a very, very fine resume. All of my experience from 2011 on have led me to realize that there's a real chance people will develop a codependency on AI. That is, like, I can already see that right now.
Yep.
Because there are so many people, the only thing that they know is AI. So the AI becomes their brain instead of something that they use as a tool, and that is very, very scary. So I'm focused on workforce preparation, educating the masses. Now I have my own company where I'm working on solving the problem of AI in the workforce by teaching enterprises how to prepare their workforce for the future and how to use AI and automation to amplify the workforce instead of eliminating it. If you're going to use AI in your day-to-day, great, but you have to be conscientious to outsource tasks and not your critical thinking. You need to avoid intellectual atrophy. I'm gonna read that one more time. Let's read that real quick. You have to be conscientious to outsource tasks and not your critical thinking. That is so important. And that's why, like, for me, when I'm building these applications, I'm always thinking about, oh, okay, how can we make this better? How is this a better user experience? I might bounce some ideas off of like different large language models. Like, how can we do this? This is what I want to do, but you have to keep your critical thinking. You have to keep your creativity for yourself, because at the end of the day, AI is really learning from other applications, from other things that exist. So you need to have your own thinking in there. All right.
So I talk about this all the time when I speak about musicians being creative. So you have to be the source of your creativity, right? So you can be influenced all day long when it comes to the ideas you have, right? Many things you've thought of have probably come from somebody else, come from a place you've been to, some sort of historical context, right? But if you want to actually create something, right, you have to be in control from the beginning, visualize the end, and then walk your way to the destination, right? What AI does is it gives you options on how to get to that destination. What you're gonna struggle with is your understanding on how to get to that destination. So let's say if you want to create an album, right? You may think an album is just turning on your digital audio workstation, plugging in your guitar and mic, recording it, mixing, mastering it, dropping it on YouTube, you're done, move on to the next album. But if you were to ask AI, how could you make this more productive? How can I make this fit for my audience? And here are the things that my audience is attracted to. How can you maximize your marketing? And this is the analytics I've had from the past year of my music. Can you analyze this and see what you come up with as far as even suggestions on what you can do for my next release? These little things that I even just gave you as an opportunity to run through AI won't give you a blueprint, but they will give you almost a encyclopedia for you to just skim through and say, okay, this is what I want to do. This is what I can do. Here's the next step. And then you can even run that next step through AI and then see, okay, now I've kind of ran the thought process through, my vision through, and can see how to get it done. Because another thing that AI will not do, it won't reject you as far as what you want it to do. Legally, of course, but if you have a creative idea, it's going to help you get it done, right? So what they mean by intellectual atrophy is saying, hey, I need a album done, make some music for me, and then you just release that. You're not really creating. But if you're saying, hey, I want an album done, how can I find 7 brass musicians, and what is the process for recording brass musicians to put on an album for live streaming or streaming, in general for music? Run that through AI and it'll give you a lot of information that you can learn from, that of which most of you've already known, but if you're asking it this question, you might not even have applied. So that's the key thing you're going to have to struggle with. And this is why the word atrophy is such a good word to use here, because like the fitness content we talk about here, if you don't continuously keep making music, continuously keep practicing creativity, then you'll fall into a rut of what I call the Bruno Mars effect, where you'll just be doing what you've been inspired to do, not what you are here to do, right? You're just making music. You don't really create. You just kind of just make sounds come out of your face, but you're not creating the sounds that come out of your face, if that makes sense, right? And so if you don't know how to keep doing that, then AI can show you how to do that, and then you can get practice, or you can figure out how to make a living not knowing how to do that. But you will be atrophied when it comes to time for you to actually create. Like when it's time for you to actually say, okay, what do I understand? You won't understand a lot if you're not looking for the information to understand.
Intellectual atrophy is when you lose your cognitive ability to think critically because you're outsourcing that thinking to tech. Just like our muscles atrophy if we don't use them, so does our brain. The big thing that you've got to be careful of is making sure that generative AI doesn't make your thinking become generic, because everyone else is also using ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude and all those, right? You maintain your edge by using cognitive power. That is such a fact. That is such a fact. And with that being said, I want to go and take a look at this other video from the same conference, because she's going to speak to that as well.
Artificial intelligence was created for us to outsource our tasks, not to outsource our thinking. It was meant to fuel our learning, not short-circuit it. Use artificial intelligence to supercharge your ingenuity and your creativity. Make it empower you, not displace you. Apply common sense. Know when AI is good for you and when it's not good for you. Practice boredom.
So that's pretty much the video in a nutshell. And again, make sure you go check out Tech Coach Ralph. Learn what you can from him, glean what you can from him, ask questions, leave comments, and all that great stuff. But essentially, I agree 1000%. And a lot of it is going to come from you actually applying it. The hard part is what she was saying at the end there, is that you're going to have to apply common sense. You're going to have to know when things are going right or wrong from you. And that comes from a lot of what we talked about last year on this channel, the characteristics and foundation you need as a musician, as an entertainer. So if you're going to come into the music industry, why are you here? What do you demand from it, right? Same with AI. Why are you picking up Gemini? Is it to help you make better artwork? Is it helping you make better album artwork? Do you need better understanding of music theory? Are you struggling financially with maybe your music budget and things like that? What are you really trying to get from it? But that's cognitive thinking, other than you just asking it to just complete the task. Just, hey, make me an album. Hey, make me a picture. Here's my face. Turn me into a king in space or something, holding a muffin. You don't need that kind of lack in your life. You need more urgency. So essentially, you've been given a gun. That's what AI is. You've been given a gun. You can do one thing or you can do another thing. But there are gun owners who go to the range and practice every day and do push-ups and make sure they can, get around. And then there's other people who just take the gun apart all day and put it back together. That's all they do. So let me know what you think. Is AI going to replace you as a musician, as an artist, as an entertainer? Or is Tech Coach Ralph a little bit off on this one? Let me know in the comments, and I want to know what you think. Let me just go ahead and sign out here. I'm going to miss you guys, but I'm out, y'all. Peace.